One thing is very, very clear. The United States of America and the US-led West cannot continue to deceive Africa by supporting institutional coups, supporting electoral coups, and at the same time, training soldiers to engage in military coup and then turn around and begin to say they want to restore constitutional order. They should understand that it is electoral coups and institutional coups that makes military coups inevitable, particularly when you have a coup in Niger, where the coup leaders are trying to save the country from the clutches of France and behind the scenes from the clutches of America, because many people don't know the true story of what happened in Niger. Let's take a look at the whole story, the whole essence, why the coup happened in the first place. Now, many people don't understand that America needs a lot of uranium, not just to make nuclear bomb, but to generate electricity in the United States of America. They need a lot of uranium. And also, many people know that there seem to be, on the surface, I say on the surface advisedly, because on the ground there appears to be some arrangement. Many people see that there seems to be some tensions between the United States of America and Russia, particularly with respect to what is going on in Ukraine. And we all know that America has put a lot of sanctions on Russia. But guess what? Because of the electricity needs or the weapons needs of the United States of America, all the sanctions they put on Russia, they did not put sanctions on uranium. Because 50% of the uranium of the United States of America comes from Russia. So you see, the United States and its hypocrisy is glaring for all to see. Keep that in mind as we continue in this story. Now, what are you keeping in mind? The fact that 50% of the uranium needs of America comes from Russia, and the fact that despite all the sanctions that are put on Russia by United States of America with respect to the Ukraine situation, they did not put sanction on uranium. Now, fast forward, while America is struggling to source for for uranium, for their electricity needs and weapons needs, France is having it easy because the arrangement of France is such that in all its former colonies, all their resources are accessed by France de facto. Whether they like it or not, they take the resources and the resources goes to France. It is from France that France begins to share to them their own resources. Now, France is enjoying free uranium, almost free uranium from Niger. And that's how they are doing it in all their former French colonies. Now, guess what? I guess America is not happy with this arrangement. That while they are struggling and swallowing their vomit, going to Russia to get uranium, despite all the so-called sanctions, France is getting their own uranium easily to power their electricity plants, their nuclear electricity plants in France. Meanwhile, Niger is suffering from lack of electricity. Now, fast forward. What does America do, or what did America decide to do? America decided that the best thing to do is to begin to fight France behind the scene. Many people do not know this, that the coup in Niger is actually a result of an inner fighting between the United States of America and France, because US has dominated Europe. They have colonized Europe, and they don't want any of the European powers to possess the capacity to dissent from them. But France is doing it. Recall that France has been running helter-skelter, running to the BRICS nations, running to China, running everywhere, trying to save face, because I am very, very sure and certain that Macron and France have seen what the Americans are doing behind the scenes. So what did America decide to do? Everywhere that is a former French colony, they go there like they have always done, and they train their soldiers to engage in coups. They train their soldiers from Guinea to Mali to Burkina Faso and now Niger. all of their soldiers were trained by the United States of America, their AFRICOM command. They were trained, and it's not me saying it, it's a US Congress committee that is revealing all of this. The United States of America trained all the coup leaders to engage in coup. Now the question is, why did they train the military leaders in coup? They trained them for one purpose: overthrow the government in those former Francophone countries that are loyal to France and selling their own countries to France, overthrow them. Then once they consolidate their power, they will kick out France, kick out French troops, and then France will no longer have access to those resources. Then America will swoop in and have access to those resources. This is what is going on behind the scenes. This is what happened in Mali. Immediately, the US trained soldiers engaged in the coup and succeeded. They kicked out France. The same thing happened in Mali. The same thing happened in Guinea. The same thing happened in Burkina Faso. The same thing is happening here now. But there is a problem. The problem now is that rather than, because the coup leaders also know the danger of trusting the United States of America. America has no permanent interest, no permanent friend. They don't have any permanent friends. They don't have any permanent enemies. They only have permanent interests. They are the ones that said so themselves. So these coup leaders must have gotten wind that these Americans, it's because of the resources that they are interested in. That's why they are teaching us to take or participate in coups. They must have realized this. And what did they do? Immediately they succeeded in engaging the coup and dethroning the leaders or the government that is loyal to France. Immediately they kicked out France before the US will swoop in to begin to access the uranium of Niger. The Niger coup leaders decided to run to Russia through the Wagner Group, because they know or they realize that only Russia can really defend them from the onslaught of the United States of America. This is why the whole Niger coup happened. Now, America is feeling pained that having trained the soldiers that led the Niger coup, and they have succeeded to chase out the French, instead of these coup leaders to now allow America to now access their uranium so they can depend less on Russia, they now decided to run to the same Russia. So America is back to square one. That is why they are now coming to now say, oh, you must restore constitutional order. It is not because of any love for Niger. It is because their hidden secret plan failed when the coup leaders decided to run to France to free their countries. Nigerians and Africans must indeed realize that every of the conflict in Africa is as a result of the secret maneuverings, the secret plottings of the US-led West through the IMF and the World Bank. We cannot say or stress this enough. We must come to this realization if we want to save Africa, if we want to save Nigeria. We must come to this realization. So what do they decide to do? Now we hear that France is sending tanks that they did not send before. Now, tanks that they will collect the money back. They will collect it. The tanks are not free. They are sending tanks for Nigeria to lead ECOWAS to invade Niger. They are sending tanks. And the United States is coming to tell us, oh, we are in support of you. We are in support of you. Mind you, the United States of America has a military drone base, highly sophisticated base. If the Americans decided to take action, which would be illegal according to international laws anyway, if they decided to take action in 15-30 minutes, this whole thing will be over. Because while Nigeria and all of the West African states do not have any missile defense systems, the American bases, they do. And they have advanced fighter jets, the F-35 Lightnings, the Raptors and all there. But they have the F-16s and the F-18s there. Advanced weapons, they have their drones. Do you understand? So it means that America possesses the capability, France possesses the capability to end the coup in Niger, even though that will be very, very, very illegal according to international law. So what do they decide to do? They decide to go behind the scenes and begin to force and blackmail West African leaders to use ECOWAS to invade Niger. So you have the likes of Ouattara of Cote d'Ivoire that was put in place by an intervention who you would expect that will rule Cote d'Ivoire and free Cote d'Ivoire from the clutches of France and bring real development to the people of Cote d'Ivoire. He's been there for 13 years against the dictates of the constitution of Cote d'Ivoire. Is that not a coup? ECOWAS will not see those kind of people to tell them that this is institutional coup. This kind of action is what will invite military coup. ECOWAS will not tell them. Look at what Bola Ahmed Tinubu did in Nigeria. He came out openly on international media to say, oh, power is not served a la carte. You have to grab it, you have to snatch it, you have to run with it. And that is what people did. That is what his supporters did. And look at what we are hearing now. Look at what DSS is doing to the court. Look at the rumors that are flying everywhere, right, left, and center, about the intimidation of judges. And nobody will call them to question and say, look, this is institutional coup or this is electoral coup. Stop it. Even when the European Union Electoral Observer Mission came to say that the election was flawed, nobody came out to condemn and say, Tinubu, you are there illegally, illegitimately. Before you begin to take any of this action that we are forcing you to do, wait until the tribunal decides your fate. Nobody is saying that. Nobody is condemning the fact that there is a rise in institutional coup, in electoral coup in Africa. Because, of course, we know who is behind all of this. If France were not behind Tinubu, if the United States of America is not behind Tinubu, trying to defend him, I am very, very sure that Tinubu will not have the mind to be doing a lot of the things that he's doing. Because look at all his policies. He's doing them to dance to the tune of the IMF and the World Bank. Look at what he's doing. All the devaluation of the Naira in the name of floating the Naira and unification of the FX window. To whose advantage? The Western companies and the Western corporations. To the advantage, because we are a consumption economy. So devaluing the Naira will make things more expensive and make life more unbearable. We do not manufacture nothing. Rather than focus on helping local corporations, local companies to create more jobs, to manufacture goods locally. He decides that even the $155 million loan for meter manufacturing, he decided that instead of giving it to local companies to manufacture meters locally, he will give it to international companies to import finished meters, thereby killing our local companies. Rather than supporting local manufacturing of cars like Innocent to manufacture custom-made cars for Nigeria's need, that meets Nigeria's need. No, what he decides to do is to open the border, remove tariff on used cars so that it will be cheaper to bring in used cars than to manufacture new cars in Nigeria, thereby killing jobs and killing local manufacturing capacity and shipping our jobs away. All of those do what? They play to the needs and the dictates of the IMF and the World Bank. So the IMF and the World Bank will not see Tinubu and tell him that, look, what you are doing is wrong. They will not. They will not. But we will. And we will continue to say it and open the eyes of the African people, the Nigerian people, to the behind the scenes manipulation of the IMF and the World Bank. How they bring and train soldiers to engage in coup. And it's not their first time. It is not their first time. If you don't know, all the coups that have happened in Nigeria from 1966 to date, all the coups that have happened because our Nigerian soldiers were also trained by the United States of America. And contrary to beliefs that the civil war in Nigeria or the Biafran war in Nigeria or the coups that have happened because of ethnic reasons. They did not happen because of ethnic reasons. They happened because of a purge that was taking place by the IMF and the World Bank. This coup happened almost at the same time across Africa. As they were killing Kwame Nkrumah in Ghana, they were killing the leader of Togo, they were killing the leader of Burkina Faso, they were killing this other leader in Eastern Africa. They were killing every Pan-Africanist. They were killing every Pan-Africanist. The whole reason why the US trained soldiers to engage in coup, all the coup plotters in Africa were trained by America. When you hear that they are going to America for a special course, those special courses, America have a special way of putting and filling the heads of our soldiers with ideas of coup and making them think that the problem that Africa has is corruption. Meanwhile, they will not tell these soldiers that it is America through the IMF and the World Bank that created corruption so that they can continue to benefit from the resources of Africa. They won't tell these soldiers. And somehow, these soldiers will gullibly fall for the tricks of the United States and engage in the coup. The United States is the trainer of coup or coup plotters. The United States of America. And they do all of this behind the scene, clandestinely, with the support of their own agencies for external security, ICA or CIA, whatever they call it. Africans must wake up to these facts. Africans must wake up to these facts. See, our leaders must realize that it's not business as usual. The youths are enlightened now. What these IMF and the World Bank are doing is engaging in slavery 3.0. This time around, they want to make it look like we are the ones that surrendered ourselves to be put in chains. That's what they are doing. Because when they came in slavery 1.0, they forced us. When they came in slavery 2.0, they forced us. Now in slavery 3.0, they have found out that there's a better way. If you want to keep a people in chains, you don't force them. What do? You just ensure that you convince them, you mind control them to believing and thinking that they are supposed to be in chains. Then the people will themselves surrender their hands to be put in chains. That's what they are doing to us. Mind control. In slavery 1.0, they came with their guns and money and they forced our best and strongest men and women into slavery to go and work in their plantations. In slavery 2.0, which was colonization, they came with their guns and they came with religion. They came with pastors. They came with their guns. They forced us. They forced us to give them the best of our resources so they can use it to grow their factories and their economies in Europe. Now, slavery 3.0, following the events of the Second World War, how America has risen by diminishing Europe and diminishing the world. Thank God that they were not able to diminish Russia. They have decided to go about it a new way. Look at it now. Our strong, able-bodied men, the best hands in Nigeria, in Africa, that are jackpotting, that are doing all this jackpot thing, the best hands, what are they going to America to do? 90% of them are going there to become slaves. Again, that's why slavery 3.0, 90% of the people that jackpot to America, to Canada, to Europe, to Britain, UK, 90% of them are going there to go and wash dead bodies in mortuaries, to go and work in morgues. They are going there to go and wash the shit of old people, elderly people, in the name of caregiver. That's what they are going there to do. They are going there to be slaves, to work in their plantation, cotton plantation. That's what they are going there to do under the table jobs for $10 per hour. Under the table jobs, all manner. Many of them even go there to sell their bodies. They go there to do all of these things. Is this not slavery? Is this not slavery? And the skilled ones that even go there, they make sure they take all our skilled hands to go and feed their economy over there because their population is aging. This is slavery 3.0, and the earlier Africans realize it, the better it will be for us. Let's not fall for all this trick of the United States and of France. Let nobody think that they are acting in the interest of Nigeria or West Africa or indeed Africa. It's all about the uranium for the United States. That's why they started all this. Whatever it is that you think you know, realize this now. The coup in Niger was caused by the United States of America. It was caused by them because they trained the coup leaders. In fact, there is a picture that is making the round of the coup leader in Niger right now, found in the US drone base few hours before the coup took place. Despite the fact that, on top of the fact that these coup leaders, these soldiers were trained by the United States of America. This is the story that most media houses will not tell you. This is the real story. They started the whole coup. They trained the coup plotters with the intention that these coup plotters will overthrow a government that is loyal to France, and then they will kick out the French troops, and that will create an opening for America to come in and begin to access the resources of that country, like Niger, access their uranium, so they can reduce that dependency on Russia, which is up to 50%. But there's a backlash. Rather than the coup leaders now staying loyal to America, they decided to run to France. And France, to Russia. And then Russia comes in to provide support for them. And America, forget it. America cannot fight Russia. In fact, if you ask me, I think that there is a behind-the-scene arrangement between the United States of America and Russia. Because think about it. Russia is less than 150 kilometers away from America. Why don't they fight themselves across their borders? They will never do that. They will never do that. Why don't they fight themselves across their borders? But they would rather go and be doing proxy wars. Proxy wars. Look at what is happening in Syria. Underground arrangement. In fact, there are behind the scenes secret back channels through which they communicate. In fact, they call it de-escalation channels. So before America will bomb a target in Syria, they will first of all tell Russia. Before Russia will bomb a site or a location in Syria, they will first of all tell America. They have de-escalation channels, back channels through which they communicate. So if you ask me, there is an underground, behind the scene arrangement between the United States of America and Russia. Because of course, Russia cannot defeat the US and the US cannot defeat Russia. No matter the story they tell you, no matter the spin that the mainstream media in the West tells you, Russia cannot defeat America, America cannot defeat Russia. And that's the stalemate that America has to deal with. They call it mutually assured destruction because of the nuclear power of both. But think about it. Because of the need of America, they want to gather as much of the world as they can. To do what? To openly create a scene that they are fighting Russia. They are not fighting Russia. If you analyze and look in depth at the effects of the war in Ukraine, you will find out that the war in Ukraine is not really about defeating Russia. The war in Ukraine is really about weakening the European Union. That's what the war in Ukraine is, in two ways: depleting the weaponry or the ammunitions of the European Union on the one hand, and forcing the European Union to buy weapons from the America's military industrial complex. That's what the war in Ukraine is about. It's not about defeating Russia. America cannot defeat Russia. They cannot. Europe cannot defeat Russia, and they know it. But what is surprising me is that Europe, that used to be so smart that they colonized the whole world, including America, they are now so dumb that America is colonizing them and they don't even know. America is asking them to send weapons to Ukraine. All the weapons they have sent to Ukraine, Russia has destroyed. And they keep saying, oh, we send $100 billion of weapon, $100 billion of weapon. Think about it. America has sent over $100 billion of weapons aid to Ukraine. The money for those $100 billion weapon, where does it go? It goes to the American corporation. It goes to the American corporation. So the money never left America. They are doing all this so that the European countries can send in their troops they don't have, because they are lagging behind seriously in the manufacturing and invention of these weapons of war. So the ones that they don't have, America wants to deplete it so that they will force the European countries to come and buy their F-35s, to come and buy their javelins, to come and buy their drones, to come and buy their fighter jets. That's what they are doing, to weaken Europe. It's not to defeat Russia. America cannot defeat Russia. No matter how they spin it, no matter the explanation you give, America cannot defeat Russia, and they know it. And the whole intention of Ukraine is not to defeat Russia. It is to defeat Europe. If European leaders don't know it now, then they are dumber than I'm thinking. The whole essence of the war in Ukraine is not to defeat Russia. It is to defeat Europe. It is to deplete Europe and force Europe to be more dependent on the United States of America. That's why they blew up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline, so that Europe will not continue to get gas from Russia, but instead they will now get gas from America. Imagine, America put all the sanction on Russia because of their invasion of Ukraine. Good, right? But think about it. America did not put sanction on Ukraine because they need they did not put sanction on uranium from Russia because they need the uranium from Russia. They did not put sanction on it with all the heavy sanction they claim they have put on Russia. Now, Europe has gas needs, particularly Germany, and they also did not put sanction on the gas. So what does America decide to do? To keep Europe dependent on America, they decided to secretly blow up the Nord Stream 2 pipeline so that Europe will not be able to meet their gas needs from Russia's supply. And guess what? Guess who is providing gas to Europe now? America, which is more expensive for Europe than the gas that they would have gotten from Russia. The whole essence of the Ukraine war is not to defeat Russia. Every peace move that has been made, from the ones that were made by Belarus, the ones that were made by China, the ones that were proposed by the African Union, all the peace moves, they have all been blocked by this US-led West because they have not weakened and defeated Europe enough. The earlier the European countries realize this, the better for them. This game that the US is playing is the same game that they played to colonize Europe. They stood by and watched while Hitler destroyed the whole of Europe during the Second World War. Before they stepped in, they were doing business and getting rich off the Second World War, up to the point that Europe